Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings. Welcome to Ecommerce Conversations, a weekly podcast from Practical E-commerce, hosted by entrepreneur Eric Bandholz.
What is going on, Internet? Eric Bandholz back again with another E-commerce Conversations. I hope all is going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the table from me, Aaron, what's up?
Let's get it on. I feel like I got to match the energy. The whole vibe just changed. Yeah, all right, now I'm coming in good. I'm coming in strong.
I mean, you've listened to the podcast before, so you know the intro, right?
This feels like drive time.
Is it different in person? Than
oh my gosh, you people. I'm actually looking at the man in the face right now. This isn't one of those bootleg, off-brand, just show up on the screen. This is live. And the whole vibe just changed. He lives up to, that was fantastic.
Yeah, like before I hit record, I'm the most boring and bland. And that's what Aaron's trying to say. It's like, I got no personality at all.
And all of a sudden,
thanks, Aaron. I appreciate that.
He's doing it for you people. You need to know just how much. I'm sure it takes some push on your end to do that.
Well, I'm excited to get into this podcast. But before we do that, real quick, heads up. Who the hell are you?
I'm Aaron Orendorff. I'm the head of marketing at Recart. We're an SMS app for Shopify businesses built to cost less, sell more, and drive real growth. Now, my actual claim to fame is I came up Shopify Plus back when Shopify Plus just became a thing. So I cut my teeth early in the e-commerce days. We were just talking about this old school back in the day. I was so old school. I remember writing how-to guides and articles about why you should trust the cloud with your e-commerce.
Jeez,
that's the pedigree. Yeah, I made the move over to the agency side. I spent some time with the beautiful, wonderful, wicked smart people at Common Thread Collective, and now I'm shilling text messages.
So right before we hit record, we had a little conversation. For those who have never been on the show before, I don't prepare any questions in advance. I just get to know the person I'm talking to. Usually I know the people I talk to before I hit record. So there's like the inherent research done. But like I've done a lot of SMS.
Have you?
I mean, to me, I think it's a lot. So there's been, well, now you guys, SMS, Recart. Is it recart.com?
Recart.com if you want to go check us out. Yep.
We've done Postscript. We've done SendLane and Klaviyo.
Done. See, I thought you meant like done for your business.
Oh, for the business? No.
And that's why I was going to call you a liar.
Ironically, in the business, we use Emotive, and they haven't been on the podcast.
What in the world? Your rep needs to get up in your business. That is a travesty.
So here's the thing with like SMS for me is like it's a team member's decision. So they're the ones who are using the software, and I give them the autonomy to pick and manage it.
But you break all of the rules. I mean, your homepage still does not read like an e-commerce D2C buy something sort of site. And I get that vibe too from the way you communicate with your customers writ large as well. Now, it sounded like in your last podcast that you're pushing a lot more into the paid than you ever have before. And maybe that's changed things.
No, we did a lot of paid during 2020, 2021. Longtime listeners know that I brought my former growth marketer, James, on the show a couple of times. And he was a great talent, and someone else snaked him away from me. So lesson learned, never bring your growth marketers on your podcast or else you might lose them. So only bring them on if maybe you're happy with losing them.
Well, because that's the piece of it is like you do a lot of things non-traditionally. And actually, that's what we were talking about right before you hit record and hit that mic with such fervor and force.
Yeah, well, so I mean, to wrap up where I was going with that is like, we could talk SMS. I think, you guys, the 30-second pitch, you're using AI in ways that other brands aren't, right?
Absolutely.
And that gives you extra performance.
Personalized segment in ways that most lifecycle retention managers know they should be doing, simply don't have time to commit to. And so we're trying to shortcut that in a really user-friendly, functional sort of way that actually drives results. Yeah, not a bolt-on.
But the real thing that's going to be fun is like Aaron and I have been on like D2C Twitter for a long time.
Yes.
Like I feel like you are probably one of the most active D2C Twitter follows. Am I right?
I appreciate that you think that, because I think I'm pretty, like, my rate of production is so much lower than what I see going on out there in the world right now. And I don't know if it's been an influx of, there's just a lot more agencies in the mix that are helping people fuel content. Everybody just woke up to the fact that, listen, nobody remembers anything I posted from 6 months to a year ago, so I can just churn and churn and churn. But I like the fact that you think I'm productive and active.
Well, maybe it's just because we've been on Twitter for, a half a decade or whatever.
Yeah, and it's that biasy thing that, we probably just see it more. But I also, I've been around for a few hot seconds. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in the game because you were CTC, Shopify. When did you get in the game? Or
11?
Specifically on Twitter, I guess.
Oh my gosh. So this is some fun stuff. I don't think I've ever actually said this out loud. So I started my Twitter account, I want to say a decade ago, maybe almost coming up on 11 years ago. And we can get into some of my backstory about, like, my life radically changed a little over a decade ago. And it just also happens to overlap with, I'll be celebrating 11 years of sobriety at the beginning of February. So that gives you, like, some stuff really fell apart, and I found myself unemployed and unemployable in Klamath Falls, Oregon, which no one has any business knowing. So I bought Neil Patel's Traffic University.
I met that guy in person.
And how is he in person?
I don't really know him online. I only know him on person. Like, I used to live in Washington State, and I was a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch.
That's right.
And then I met with him in Seattle when we were doing, like, IVF treatments, my wife and I.
Good dude?
I mean, I got nothing bad to say about him.
Well, because lots of people do. I don't mean the in-person thing. I mean the online. If we're talking about Twitter, like, dude, that guy gets a lot of flack and hate.
I mean, he seemed like just young, and also this is like 14 years ago. 15 years ago.
He's been around for a while.
Yeah. It was with the egg. What was that business? Like egg
Crazy
analytics.
Egg.
Crazy Egg was like kind of his thing. And his brother were doing stuff. And it seemed like a little bit kind of like growth hacky.
Oh, yeah. And he got, like, painted with that guru brush for sure.
And he came off as, like, that vibe in person too. Like, where he's the expert. But he was also not, like, to me personally, he was never condescending or.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And so I got nothing but love in my heart for, he was one of the first courses I ever bought. I threw up a website, like I said, in Klamath Falls, Oregon. I'm going to write like 10 blog posts to make it look like there's actually something going on here, flesh it out. I started writing like a madman across the interwebs, and I bought this Traffic University course from Neil Patel, and it said, go buy your first 5,000 followers. Okay. So I did. I straight up did. That was my introduction to Twitter about 10 years ago.
You have a whole bunch of fake.
I bought like the whole fake, and I think it like actually screwed me for quite a while, but it helped to look like I was something when I really wasn't, man. I started with no background in this industry, no clients, no pedigree, no connections.
But you started Twitter particularly for like the internet business.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And some of the things that really worked well, and I think they still do, is just, if you're there and you're active and you're a human and you're trying to put out with honesty and some semblance of consistency and regularity, I just try to be a force for positivity. Yeah. I think that's a lot of what it comes down to. I'm a relentlessly enthusiastic dude, and I also know that when I get nervous, that's the default behavior I go into. And so if I get uncomfortable on that platform, that's the direction. And I get a lot of joy in bigging other people up, and it just so happens that people enjoy it too. So
you get a lot of joy in lifting people up. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said beating people up.
No,
like,
lifting people up.
That was
bigging people up, bigging them up.
Oh, bigging them up, not beating them up.
Like one of those moments was just this last week. Cody Plofker, I think I'm saying his last name. Have you had him on here yet?
No, I haven't.
No. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you've got to track that guy down.
Yeah, he's hit me up in the DMs before. So,
dude, he dropped one of his newsletters. Those, the Sundays that just come, hit everybody's inbox. The D2C Sunday for some reason, and it was all about chart of accounts, finances, how he determines value, how to get lean from both a service and provider perspective, as well as OpEx, inside reducing overhead, that sort of stuff. And it happened because he was like, what should I write about? And I just added him when he was on the Twitter of, dude, I would love to hear somebody actually talk about a nerdy financial topic, chart of accounts, which I didn't even know existed 2 months ago. So I'm relentlessly curious too. I think that's a good piece of it. So when it came out, it hit my inbox. I was like, dude actually wrote like a whole piece. So I go out there, I share it, screenshots, tag a couple of people as well, because I'm shamelessly promotional. And it was Chris from Spikeball, who I never interact with, but he just writes this comment of, dude, I love seeing the way that you're always putting other people on, or something he said. And to me, that was such a microcosm of maybe that's the piece of like why I don't feel like I'm that active. But if you create a good emotion in somebody, that sticks, right? And not somebody I know, but it's like I've done it enough that he just recognized it, and good is good.
Yeah. I wish I had that. Like I use Twitter to bitch. Like there's a lot of negativity coming out.
See, you want people to think that, and
I do bitch a lot about things.
You do. It's very honest. It's never punching down bitching. It's never
sometimes it is. Like I do bitch about like cold emailers. I have a natural disdain for people who use poor cold email tactics. And this goes back to, I used to be a salesperson. So it's coming from my days as a salesperson, having high expectations for someone to perform well in sales.
So how does that translate into not I feel like if you have been exposed to, the closer I get to sales, the sales side of things, and I'm super close to it, closer than I ever wanted to be in my life over this last year.
And Recart. I love sales.
Turns out I do too. I'd never been in it. 2023 last year was the first year that due to necessity, I got put on the front line of actual sales. And it was scary. But I would think like the more I got closer to that, the more I actually developed empathy. For people that had to go do that. Cold call, cold email. Like you got to go out there and work it. Not so much for you. Like you had the opposite of?
Oh yeah. Well, there's a lot of people who I never screenshot and upload because it's, kind of the normal grind. But it's the people who start off with a lie.
Okay. I've seen that. Yep. They've never purchased your product. That was one that I saw you put out there. We're like, listen, do you not realize I have access to the emails and the names of my customers and I can very easily call BS on this?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, to be fair, there are some people, maybe they bought at Target or like there are like a few outs. So it's like, oh, like give me your email address or whatever. So I don't make the accusation always, unless it's very clear that they're lying. They're like, oh, you got a great brand. I love your brand. And like, oh, if you love my brand, then surely you've bought from us, right? Like, if you love a brand, you buy it, especially a $30 product. Unless, let's say they're in Europe, okay? Like, there's a few things where they can't get the product.
I would say I like/love you and your brand and have been a fan for a while. I've never purchased from you.
You got to buy, man.
But here's the funny thing, is that what's great about that is I remember seeing that one where you're like, I can call BS on something like this. And so I get what you're saying. It's not so much the cold outreach as it is just if you open with a lie.
Yeah, I think like if you open with or it's like manipulative marketing. A lot of tactics they also use is like the CEO will email an employee to be like, hey, follow up with this guy. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, if the CEO wants to contact me, then just have him contact me. Like, I don't want to work with someone who has some kind of like pigeon puppet master that's telling them to do all these things. And I also don't believe them. I think they just made up that email. Like
now, is that reflected in the way you run your business? And that's a loaded question because I think it is. I think that your commitment to, you want to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I would say like that's a driving force.
I'm a guy who will cut off my nose and spite my face.
Okay. That's the extreme side of it.
A tweet I've made is like, I've died on a lot of hills.
Okay.
But
what hills
living.
Shouldn't you have died on?
I mean, no regrets in life, right? But I think you can have learned lessons, but like everything you do and you go through. But I mean, like COVID was a real hard time for me. Like I'm sure it was with a lot of people. It was a very divisive time too. And a lot of people had different views on things. And I felt like I had to self-censor a lot of my feelings at the time because of the societal expectations.
Okay, I won't push you to not self-censor now. I won't. I want to take that bait so bad. I don't want to actually get you in trouble.
It's like I don't think it's like I'm a healthy, fit person. I have no problem saying that I think exercise and sunlight and the whole and then masks are hard for me. Like I can't wear masks.
Here's why I think though what resonates so well with you is you're not a Chad bro dude about it. You're really, and like what I come away from like your relentless posting of like the new okay, that's the thing. I was about to say your relentless posting of the new PR for like a deadlift and I've seen so many videos of you working out. That sounds funny to say, but I've seen so many. What it is though is it's like there's this emphasis on it's about putting in the reps.
Yeah.
It's not about always one-upping yourself or one-upping anyone else. It's just about I want to be, and you also have it seems relentless focus on the benefits as it affects relationships in your life. your family in particular,
Yeah.
that I can be a better father because of my commitment to health. Right?
Yeah. I mean, like ultimately, that's one of the driving purposes. Like if you invest in your health, you'll have the energy to spend time with your kids, to throw them up in the air at the swimming pool, to live a long time, see your grandkids or your great grandkids if you're so lucky. So like those are kind of like a lot of the reasons why I do invest in my health. But yeah, I mean, I do like to share that and kind of inspire people. I think health is almost to a certain degree, like it becomes a problem, for me because my daughter has opportunity to improve her health.
Yes.
And that gets under my skin where I'm like, here are good foods to put in your body, but you're not putting in your body. And then it's like, do I want to have a battle with my daughter and constantly be at battle about...
How old's your daughter?
She's 10.
Oh, yeah, that's a good battle age.
It's been going on for 7 years. So.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. But that's the part of where I don't think you punch down very often. And you do walk that line of like, it's clear that you have a libertarian bend to you. And I don't know how you actually define meritocracy? Is that what you said you believed in before this? I don't want to.
Well, I mean, like if we're applying labels to myself, like voluntarist would be.
Voluntarist? What does that even mean?
Just basically that you prefer to live in a society where engagements and agreements are all done voluntarily without the use of coercion or force or like taxation and things like that.
Yeah, including the legal mechanisms that would
so contract is like if you and I form a contract, that is law, right? So it's a law between us. It's written down as contract, and we voluntarily go into contract together over that.
Well, okay. So, which is different than something that's coming in from over the top of you actually didn't give your permission. You gave no consent to be, like you said, use taxation of your, which by the way, also listening to that at this point, the most recent podcast about that tax bill that came due. And I loved your thing about like, they didn't follow up or like you didn't actually get an invoice. You were like, all right, cool. I'm not going to go like talk to somebody that I think I owe money to. But that's the other piece of it is when you do things like posting about your health, what I take away from it is it's about the reps. And now listen, that I can vibe with. That is one of those things that actually feeds my soul when I imbibe that.
Yeah.
Because I am acutely aware of how little control I have over anything outside of me and even what poor control I have over myself. So the idea of focusing on inputs versus outputs is a really powerful driving force in the way I look at the world, my worldview. And so if it's just about the reps, that's right. Like it's one foot in front of the next. And every once in a while, often I'll stumble backwards, but it's just what is the next right thing to do? So I pick that up from you. And also I pick up the honesty. Like there's a willingness to talk about the losses as much as the wins.
Yeah.
And even the way you talked recently.
If I talked about the wins, I'd have nothing to talk about.
Oh, that was a good line. Get out. Okay. Even the way you talked about, you're thinking seriously about if YouTube can't pay off, is it time to jettison it? Is there something more useful that we could put our time into? That to me was a really interesting one because everyone wants the YouTube and the short form video in particular, and even long form video on YouTube is so hot right now. I would think you were like the heirs apparent to just continuing that mantle and that throne.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's also ego in it.
Yeah.
When you hit a certain level of, and I would imagine like celebrities go through this too. Like when you're at the top of your game, and then you're no longer at the top of the game and stuff is not hitting anymore. There is that ego hit that comes along with it too. So if it was like 10 years to get to where we're at now and it was all kind of like linear and up, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is great. But when you have a high and then you get cut in half essentially, then it's like, ooh, I'm on a downward trajectory. Is there opportunity for it to continue to go up or not?
So it's a hit to the ego. Is there a sunk cost issue that goes on when you're evaluating what do I invest my time into?
Yeah, I mean,
business?
at the end of the day, what we're doing at Beard Brand is special in the sense that we get to build a business that we enjoy building.
Yeah, that is special.
Doing things that do not make you feel good, we don't continue it.
How did you come to that?
So it's a real interesting story. Like in the early days, like Beard Brand was, at first, it was like a side project for me. And then it was a full-time thing for me and a side project for my business partners. And then it was like me and my business partner, Lindsay, we went full-time. And then it was kind of a side time for my other business partner, Jeremy. And then we're like growth at all costs. So we're like, let's open up. Yeah, we're like, let's open up a Australia warehouse. Let's open up one in Belfast. Let's open up, let's take over the world. We have to grow as quickly as possible. Make no money eating ramen. And basically like our ownership percentages between me and the other partners were different. And that created like conflict within the business because incentives weren't really aligned where like there'd be a bigger payoff for me if we didn't take anything now and then sold down the road because my equity was a little bit higher. So one of the business partners like wanted to make sure they were getting paid for their time in the business. And everything was like, after working through it, we're all on the same page. But during that time, there's a lot of conflict. And we had ended up getting the business to about $3 million of top line revenue. And we weren't making money. We were spending money wrong and trying to grow at all costs. We have quarterly strategy sessions, which we've always done. And at one of our quarterly strategy sessions, we pretty much came to agreement. We're like, well, we're at a $3 million company. You make 15 to 20% a year. That's, what is that? 450 to 600K.
I'll take your word for it.
Between the three of us, like we've won, right? Like effectively we've won. With a 6-figure job, we can travel the world. We're our own bosses. We've won. So let's just make 15 to 20% profit on $3 million of revenue and be fine with that for the rest of our lives. And that was that moment where like, okay, now we do things. Obviously, we need the business to be profitable, but we do things in a way that we enjoy it rather than just trying to grow to exit or try to grow to be on the cover of Forbes magazine or whatever.
Where does that come from inside of you? Is there some story from your childhood, from your past, because that's not common.
Yeah.
I don't experience the world that way. I am the water gets hotter and you don't realize you're getting boiled. And it's all about perspective and relativity. Perspective probably isn't there, relativity, right? As soon as I enter a new socioeconomic class, right? Then I look around and I'm like, oh, now this is the new normal. So I better do more than that.
Yeah.
Right. And I have no good reason to pursue a number, but the number is always more.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think I'm slavishly beholden to that because of celebrating 11 years of sobriety. I've got some like anchors in other worlds that are very powerful, that keep me from being completely untethered and just giving myself over to that and actually hurting the relationships that I care about. But it's still a struggle, right? Like, I don't think my family would say they know in their bones that my priorities go them, starting with my lovely wife, then the daughters, and everything else after that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe like you feel like, but that to me is like, that's a bar. And I look at someone like you from the outside in, and I feel like when you made that decision, like, I want to know, how did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, early, like when I used to work for the Man, I had a little journal that I would write down, like kind of my thoughts and ideas and business ideas. And the first page was like the things that I value most in life. And one of those is freedom, and probably at the top. Like, I'm driven by freedom. And I define freedom in a lot of ways that maybe other people want to do it. So like, obviously, as an entrepreneur, you have freedom, but within being an entrepreneur, there is a possibility that you end up someone else's bitch. And like, I don't want to be someone else's bitch. So that's why we don't do a lot of leverage or a lot of debt. It's a reason why we pay all of our bills off. It's a reason why, like, I don't take pressure and I don't give pressure. It's just kind of like, I want to be free. I want my team to be free. I want them to, have as much money as possible and to leave here and go find what other opportunities they want. Like, I don't want golden handcuffs. Like, I never want...
Except for your next growth marketer. You're not bringing them on the podcast. Forget, you lock somebody down who can nail more than one channel.
Yeah, I mean, like, ideally, like, we create a world at Beard Brand where it's so great that they don't want to leave. Where it's like, why would I leave Beard Brand? They give me freedom. It's one of our core values, freedom, hunger, and trust. And I want to live that, and I want to be true to that. And I don't want to be hypocritical. So I hope that my team feels entitled to that. And I also understand that people grow and they change. There may be a role that they love, that they mastered, and now they need to do something else to grow, but that opportunity is not a Beard Brand. So like, I don't want to hold them back in their careers if that's where they're at in their phase. So
freedom at the top, but you still haven't given me where that internal drive, wherewithal. I mean, I guess you say, yeah, when you're working for the Man, anchored yourself into that. That was it. It
but I don't want to be a
heart.
slave to the business. Like I want the business to empower or to allow me to be free. And I want the business to allow me to do, ultimately the things I want to do in life, whatever that may be. And for me, fortunately, like a lot of my joys in life are also associated with the business, like design, relationships and collaborations with other creators, creating content, making products, making things, selling online, finance. I like finance and stuff like that too. So like I'm able to express a lot of my own variety of interest and excitement like within the business. And then also I wrote a book called The Book of Reminders. Did I give you one?
No.
One of our conversations? I'll have to find one around the office if we have one here. But basically it's like the 9 reminders I tell myself and kind of really like my thought process of how I see the world.
Reminders.
As we face adversity. So.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Everything I need to know about living a deeply fulfilling, satisfying life that is larger than myself, I already know. I don't need any new information.
Yeah.
What I need is those realities to become real. And, the cliche of from, the head to the heart, the longest 6, 7, in your case, 12 inches of like whatever I don't know what your span is there, right? That's the furthest distance in the world. It's the things that I already know that I have to work in. So reminder, oh my gosh. Yeah. Do you consider yourself brave?
Yeah, it's funny. Like I did ayahuasca a number of years ago. Are you familiar with ayahuasca? It's like a ceremonial drug, I guess, the hallucination drug.
Okay.
And it is more medicinal. It's not like a party drug. So it's like you go in here, you have a shaman, you sit in a circle. He like sings songs and they like drum on a giant gong and, goes through the night. And then like you take the ayahuasca and you kind of like gives you like an experience. And the thing that I learned from that experience is one that I like to be in control. I'm not very comfortable being in the passenger seat. I have to be driving my own car. And like the first lesson from the first night was like, you got to give out control. I was trying to control the whole ayahuasca experience stuff, like part of it is like puking and purging. And it's like, I'm not going to puke. And, like I'm just going to be in control.
Interesting.
And then the second night, it was kind of like the experience that I got from it was, long story short is like the world needs people like you. It's okay to be yourself. So like the fact that I do prefer control and like the fact that, I am willing to say, generally controversial things.
Yeah.
The world needs that. Not everyone should be like me, but the world does need people like me. And it's okay to be myself because there's a place in society for it, whatever that may be.
There's a softness to you though, too. So I've hit you up a number of times since going to Recart, and I never really pulled back the curtain on. I made that thing about I've gotten intimately involved in sales in ways that I never wanted to or expected to before. Like I'm on the front lines. I've been thinking about tweeting this, posting this on LinkedIn for like a week now. Of if people knew how scrappy we were, I don't know. It'd be embarrassing if people knew is kind of what it's in my head about. But like, if you literally go to the Recart website and schedule a demo, you will go on mine or Shoma's calendar, our CEO. That's it. We're where the buck stops. Now we've got some stuff that closed out last year amazingly. So that's going to change really soon. And I'm super excited about what that's going to look like. But the idea of I've come to you and been like, I think I have something here. Can I get your hot take or your like be mean to me? I think is the thing that I use with you. And you just have. You've been like, I think when we first dropped the AI stuff, you were like, I have no idea what that headline and sub-headline mean. And it was the most useful feedback. And so it's brave, but there's a softness and like, I opened myself up for it. You're there for it. I know you actually went and looked and you're willing to hit it. Right? So that comes through with the way you talk about your health. It comes through in the way you talk about the business. That's why I went to that question about bravery. But I also think it comes through when you say the thing about the world needs people like that, right? Yeah. That is in the same breath so dangerous and so true. And by dangerous, I mean, if somebody comes to the conclusion that, you can make a lot of money and you can make a lot of infamy and you can make a lot of fame by just being an asshole on the internet.
Yeah.
Right? And that is not your shtick.
No, I wouldn't feel,
No.
I don't mind being like, to me, like being direct and like straight to the point is not being an asshole.
No.
Even though like, if you're not prepared for that, those quote unquote hard truths, it can come across that way. But I said in my book of reminders that like criticism is not hate. Criticism is actually love. It's someone who like wants to help you level up and help you improve. So,
I've said that to so many writers I've worked with in particular, because that's how I came up. I came up a writer. I'm a writer. At the end of the day, right, I got to wear a VP of marketing title. Now I'm head of marketing. I'm sure I'll have other fancy titles, but like I'm a writer. So it's like that carpenter, everything's a nail, you got a hammer kind of thing. And so I warn folks when I'm starting to work with them about like, listen, I'm going to light you up in this Google Doc more than you've ever been in your entire life. And the fact that I do that is an act of love. I would not invest in this if I didn't believe in you. And that's the piece that where criticism, like, it lit me up. Criticism is a gift. Criticism is love because it takes energy. Yeah. And it also does take emotional risk in a lot of ways too. It's so much easier to just fix a thing and ship it than it is to tell somebody where this went wrong, run the risk of them misunderstanding or thinking ill of you. And I care a lot about that, probably more about it than you do. I care a lot about what people think of me.
I'm not a
You're not immune
psychopath.
to it. No, you're not. Yeah,
partial psychopath.
But criticism is an act of love. That's a great point. And gosh, talk about a thing that you'd want to instill in your kids, what I would want my children to think too. That's really strong.
Well, not only that, I do think there is a line between criticism and hate.
Oh.
And one of your skills as you grow in life is going to be discerning the difference between criticism and the hate. Especially if you're like a public person, because you will attract both. And for me, it's like I'm a free speech guy. And it's been hard for me to use the mute button or to use the block button.
Instead of like laying into somebody, you mean? To just
no.
ignore it?
I mean, just like, someone who constantly brings negativity to my feed or is constantly arguing with me. And it's like, look, I'm not trying to change your mind. At a certain point, I just need to block them and move on. And it's like, I'm sure we get along, like no ill will. Like I've been blocked by my friend's wife.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, like I get it. Like you need to clean up your feed and preserve your own sanctity. So it's like, I don't know where I'm going with that, but there is kind of like just understanding where you're going to get value in life, and how much you need it.
How are we doing on time?
We got like no more time, I guess.
No more time. Because the thing that I wanted to ask is, what is the ingredient that it takes for someone else to receive criticism then? That's and this is...
I mean, I don't care about other people. You're either going to take criticism or you're not. Like, are you going to see the value in it or not? At the end of the day, I really don't care the way you feel because, like, I can't control the way you feel.
Well, because I think this is a really powerful... And this is where maybe we wrap it all the way back around, and this is the end of... In marketing and sales, I mean, there's two ways. There's either this is how you get the thing you already want, but you get it for less, you get it faster, you get more of it, right? You already have, and I'm a Eugene Schwartz guy through and through, breakthrough advertising, copywriting, marketing does not create desire, it only channels existing desire. That's one way to do it. And then there's another path that is confrontational, and it's the thing you think you want is not actually the thing you need.
Yeah.
And I think somebody like Taylor Holiday was probably a huge influence in my life of really someone who cares and is almost like a prophetic sort of way of trying to tell folks, stop it. Like that's not, and the way you're going about it is actually going to be detrimental to the thing that you want. And that's the criticism side of things. And front line for me, especially on the SMS side, is how to weave that into, oh my gosh, you don't need the things you think you need. And the way you're going about actually trying to measure your success by the lowest rates you can get, right? This comes right back into, right? I'll do not that I'll shill here at the end, but
no, you got to.
No, it's like I am so fascinated by how do you get on their side and disagree with them, right? How do you earn that position of trust in a rapid manner? Like, what are the cues? What are the shortcuts to it? What are the heuristics, the rule of thumb?
I mean, I think just like authenticity, right? You just have to be true and authentic to yourself and call out bullshit where you see it. And that's where you build trust.
Because what have you got to lose?
Yeah. Say something controversial, not for the sake of being controversial, but because you believe in it.
Yeah. You're trading $1 for $5. What you need to be doing is trading $1 for $10, right? And that's to get into and it does not matter. Like you thinking about how much every single one of those messages that going out costs you is fundamentally stupid. What are you trading for? Yeah. And how do you validate that? That is it. Any other discussion we have is meaningless apart from that. And we're not playing from the same deck. Yeah. And I'm just not brave enough to actually do that with an actual, in a demo with a customer on a landing page. But I'll work it up there, and you'll be the one that I send it to be like, did I go far enough?
Yeah. Where can people follow you on Twitter?
I am Aaron Orendorff, at Aaron Orendorff. I'm the same on LinkedIn.
How the hell do you spell your last name?
Orendorff. I said that really fast. Yeah, go.
We'll just make people put it back on 0.25x speed.
Go Google who is most handsome in Oregon. Oh, that's how you remember it. That is my claim to fame on the SEO front. You'll find out how to spell Aaron Orendorff in the big block at the top of Google.
There you go. And then where do you level up your SMS?
Recart.com.
There you go.
Yep.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Hope you took a nugget or two out of it. We'll see you guys on Twitter. As always, thanks for listening. Cheers. Keep on growing.